All right, let's get ready and get started for this meeting. Good afternoon, members of the public and members of the committee. This is the regular meeting of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. I want to first apologize that we are starting late. The Budget Committee was meeting immediately prior to this, and they had a number of contentious items, and that committee went long. So that's what pushed us to be late here today. I don't know who's yelling out, but whoever is yelling out, this is your first and only warning. We do not tolerate disruptions in this committee, and you will be, okay, sir, you are now, that's your second warning, you are now removed. Please remove the gentleman from the back. As I mentioned, we do not tolerate it. Please remove the gentleman from the back. I asked you not to disrupt the meeting, and you continue to disrupt. Okay, anyone else wishing to disrupt the meeting, please heed this example. Okay, let's get the meeting officially started. Please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, present.
Hutt.
Here.
Nazarian.
Present.
Lee. Absent. Rahman. Rahman. Absent. 3 members and a quorum.
Okay, I know she was here, but I'm sure she'll come back. Okay, we're going to start this meeting by taking public comment from people who have signed up for 3 or more items. Any item that will be taken on consent, we'll take those items separately. You can speak to those items at that time. We'll then move through the remaining of the agenda 1 item at a time. This typically allows folks who have come here to speak on a particular item to be able to address that item when we take that item up. So you don't need to do it all right up front. The upfront time is for folks who just want to talk about many different items. So, and then for general public comment, we do that at the end of the meeting after we have completed all of the items before us. So, City Clerk, if you would read the rules for public comment into the record.
Yes, sir. Appellants and/or their representatives and applicants and/or their representatives will be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes per side unless otherwise noted by the chair. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Appellants and applicants will be given an opportunity to speak when their item is called. Each appellant and applicant has a total of 3 minutes to speak. An appellant can choose to have a single representative speak on his or her behalf or divide the 3 minutes among his or her team. Anyone else, including an attorney or project manager wishing to speak on an appellant's behalf who does not do so during this 3-minute period, may offer a minute of public comment whenever the committee chairperson opens the public comment period for the meeting, which is usually at the beginning of the meeting. Therefore, we expect that appellants and applicants have the respective teams assembled and ready to present at the appropriate times today. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall state that and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. Failure to submit public comment in a timely manner before the comment period for the item ends results in forfeiture of the opportunity to participate in public comment for the item. As stated by the chair, general public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Mr. Chair, if I may, for the record, the financial disclosure statements for item numbers 9 and 10 have been submitted and are now available in their respective council files. Ms. City Attorney, please provide additional guidance on public comment.
When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not speaking on topic, or if we cannot tell whether you are speaking on an agenda item, you will get 1 brief warning from the city attorney or the chair. If you do not immediately get clearly on topic, or if you stray off topic, you will forfeit the rest of your time, and we will move on to the next speaker. We will inform you when your time is up.
Great, thank you. And also let the record reflect Councilwoman Rahman has joined us, so there are now 4 members. Oh, and Mr. Lee is here as well, so there are now 5 members here in committee. Okay, so before we begin public comment, I just want colleagues to realize I'm going to recommend the following actions when we do, which is for item 1 is to continue that item till October 14th, to approve items 2 through 11 and number 18 on consent, and that means for 2 to adopt the motion, for 3 to adopt the recommendation, the CAO report, and receive and file the Planning Department report. For items 4 through 11, it means approve the appointments and reappointments. For item 18, it means adopt the motion. And then, of course, at that point, any of you wishing to call any of those items special, you can take them off the consent calendar, no problem. So let's now move to public comment. If anyone is here to speak to 3 or more items on today's agenda, please line up on the left-hand side of the chamber, and we will hear you now. So I believe we have at least one person.
Chair, this is Kathy Phelan.
Okay, and actually, before you speak, if we could read the amendment to number 19 into the record before public comment.
I will read the amendment, Mr. Chair. So for item number 19, yes, it's an amendment to the building and safety proposed ordinance. So it would be this one, right? Yes. Okay. So this is the language that would be
This is an amendment we've worked with DBS and city attorney on, specifically recommending that the ordinance once introduced today, technical amendments, as well as a revised version of the ordinance, it talks about the different technical amendments, and then there is also a portion of it that is sort of a contingent enactment.
so.
It is the operative date. Oh, are you ready to read it in?
Yes, I'm ready,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
So the addition would be to add paragraph 30 to section 91106.35, which will read, compliance with these requirements do not exempt single-family group R2 occupancy buildings with an occupied floor or roof above the 3rd story from any other applicable requirements of the Los Angeles City Fire Code or the State Fire Code. And B, adds the following section regarding the operative date of the ordinance. Section 5, operative date. This ordinance shall become operative only if and when both of the following occur upon the effective date of the later to occur. Section A, the state either amends the California Building Code to make lawful the provisions of this ordinance, which allows single exit, single stairway buildings of greater than 3 stories, or the provisions of this ordinance are approved by the California Building Standards Commission. And B, the city amends its fire code to reflect the life safety enhancements required by this ordinance or otherwise required by city council upon recommendation of the fire department. And the ordinance is on the Brown Act board for display for people to read through it.
Right, so the ordinance is on display.
Yeah.
You read the most important operative, which is sort of a contingent enactment provision, and then there's a number of technical changes. Okay, so that's all been read into the record. We can now proceed with public comment. Mr. Spindler, you have 2 minutes to speak to all the items. Go ahead.
I just don't know what I'm going to do with so much time. It's amazing. So let's see, number 19. So all the people that are going to die from fires, blame it all on blah, bleeb, and blell, because people are going to die on this thing, okay? That's why you have 2 exits. And Nithya, she doesn't care. She's just trying to make everybody as low class as possible, right, Noodle? Noodle, noodle, noodle. Her world plan coming to fruition. And then, of course, be careful on the Cultural Heritage Commission.
We have a new demon. The demon's entering the commission, the developer demon.
Dun-it, 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 dun-it. That's right, everybody. See, the Cultural Heritage Commission is one of the few commissions left that has any fucking integrity. So now they got to start getting all these developer assholes in there. So now they can stop protecting anything left and just demolish the rest of the fucking city that you already haven't killed off. So again, this one here, I read the ethics statement. She claims she owns nothing, yet she has like 18 projects and 17 businesses, then you'll approve it because that's what Bob Liebenbleld wants. You don't want to preserve housing for single-family homes. You want to destroy the city and make it bankrupt, just like Santa Monica tonight at 5:30, which you can go over there and watch them declare bankruptcy tonight, Bob. And then, of course, we have other commissioners. It's no point in serving on these commissions. Everybody that serves has to sign an undated resignation letter. So anytime you piss off the mayor, she just stamps the date on it, walks it across the street, and you're fired immediately. You have no right to an appeal. You have no right to a hearing. So you have no independence. Finally, do what I do, say it. Fuck the city council.
Okay. That concludes the multiple comment item, or three or more. We'll now move to public comment, not public comment, to the consent items. And again, I'm talking about for item 1 is to continue the item till October 14th. And 2 through 11, I do want to make a note. We normally like to have our appointees come before this committee and talk about their future. A number of us have met with them beforehand. We're just running so late on time today, and we know we have a slate of really good commissioners, but I'd like to ask the folks that are here, and specifically I know Ariel Torres Sacaras, Joe Goldman, Ethel Rubio, Lydia Avila Hernandez, and Javier Nunez are here. If y'all stand up for a moment. I just wanted to before we vote on the consent item, to thank you for your willingness to serve this city, and to know, even though we're not going to take the time today to really go through each of you, we've all looked at your incredible resumes, and we appreciate the fact that you're volunteering your time to make our city better. So thank you very much. With that, colleagues, I'm going to ask that we approve items 2 through 11 and 18 on consent. Again, that's adopt. I think I've already read it about what those instructions are. Before we vote on that, is there any member of the public that came to speak to any of those items that are on consent? If you came to speak to those items, you're welcome to come forward now and give your public comment. Although, as I mentioned, we're about to approve them on consent. Okay, seeing nobody coming forward, public comment on those items is closed. And colleagues, I don't see any desires for comments or questions. So let's open the roll on the consent calendar.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt. Aye. Nazarian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Rahman. Yes. The 5 members, and the items pass.
Okay, great. So now we will turn to the next item, I believe, is item 12. So let's move to item 12. If you would read that into the record.
Sure. Item 12, council members, it's a categorical exemption from CEQA and an appeal filed by the Encino Property Owners Association relative to the approval of the project permit compliance review. And this is for the construction of a new mixed-use development with 45 units, 8 of which are reserved for very low-income households, and the project is located in CD4.
Okay. And it's my understanding that the appeal in this case has been withdrawn. So can I have confirmation, the appellant or the planning department confirm that this is the case? Planning department, is that the case?
Judge Abuse Wong, City Planning. We were made aware that the applicant and the appellant had come to an agreement. The agreement was requested that the conditions be added to the formal case filing. However, we are recommending that that not move forward.
Okay. And because the appeal has been withdrawn, I don't think we need a full report on this item. We could continue. But if any members of the public, including the applicant or the appellant, wish to speak to this item, now would be the time to take your public comment. So if you are here for this item, then come forward.
Chair, excuse me.
Yes.
Kathy Phelan, City Attorney's Office. I think we need to clarify on the record that the withdrawal of the appeal was contingent on conditions being added. Planning is not recommending to add those conditions, so I don't think we would treat this as a withdrawal of the appeal, but you would continue holding the hearing as you regularly would.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So
Maybe planning can clarify, sorry.
okay, could we have planning clarify that, please?
Judge Abuse Wong, City Planning. Yes, that's correct. The applicants, or the appellant has wished to add conditions to the approval. However, we are recommending that those conditions not be added as they are more of a private agreement type conditions.
Okay. Okay. And is the applicant or appellant here to speak? If they are, they come forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Armin Garai with GA Engineering. And come to let you know that we have come to an agreement with the appellant over here. They had some requests for doing some public improvements in the alley behind the project and some signage. And we have agreed to all of that. And we don't have anything to add to city planning report. I'm here to answer any questions if there is anything.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay. And the appellant is not here, and no members of the public wish to speak to this. So, colleagues, does anyone on the committee wish to speak to this, or I can make the recommendation? Councilwoman Rahman?
Yes, this is a project in my district, and we are comfortable with the planning department's recommendation to deny the appeal and move ahead with the project. We are aware of the private agreement reached between the applicant and the appellant, and yeah, I'm comfortable with the planning department's recommendation, so thank you.
Okay. So the recommendation then will be to deny the appeal filed by the Encino Property Owners Association and thereby sustain the determination of the Planning Commission to approve the project permit compliance review for the demolition and removal of all existing structures and construction use and maintenance of a new 45,960 square foot mixed-use development comprised of 45 residential units for the property located at 16610 through 16618 West Ventura Boulevard, subject to the conditions of approval as recommended by the Planning Department in its communication dated September 3rd, 2025, and determined based on the whole of the administrative record that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines, Article 19, Section 15.3.111, Section 15.3.11, Class 11, Section 15.3.32, Class 32, and there's no substantial evidence demonstrating that an exception to the categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines Section 15300.2 applies, and to adopt the project findings. If you could call the roll, please.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt. Aye. Nazarian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Rahman.
Yes.
This item, it's denied appeal.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and I've been asked if we could jump ahead actually to 19, which is the single stair ordinance. So I guess there are a number of folks who are here for that and timing issues, so we can go ahead and jump to that. If you could read that into the record.
Yes, sir. Item 19, it includes reports from the Planning Department, Building and Safety, and a proposed ordinance relative to amending the California Building Code to permit single exit, single stairway in multifamily residential buildings up to 6 stories, so that the committee is aware. Before the committee will be considering a request to the city attorney to transmit the draft ordinance as to form and legality as previously directed by the city council when it adopted a motion, Blumenfield Yaroslavsky, on August the 20th, 2025.
Okay, so we'll start with the Department of Building and Safety, present their report. Well, actually, we'll start with, we'll start with that, then we'll move to public comment, then we'll ask Fire Department for comment, and then we'll have a discussion. So first, we'll ask for a brief report from Department of Building and Safety and Planning.
Okay.
Then we'll hear from the public, and then we'll have Fire Department and others comment.
Good afternoon. I'm Rudy Arias with the Department of Building and Safety, and I'm here to present the single exit proposed ordinance for the City of Los Angeles for buildings up to 6 stories. This should be a really brief presentation. It's really just going to cover the proposed change to the California Building Code, some of Seattle's code provisions for single exit buildings, which are adopted in the proposed ordinance, some of Seattle's provisions that were adapted for the City of Los Angeles, and some additional provisions for the City of LA. So this proposed ordinance is looking to add a new section to the California Building Code, 10006 or 1006.3.5, with 29 provisions as it was written, which would allow for single exit buildings, again, up to 6 stories. So these are just some of Seattle's code provisions that we look to adopt as part of this proposed ordinance. Specifically up to 6 stories, 5 of which are of apartment building, 4 apartment buildings themselves, or R2 occupancy, up to 4 dwelling units maximum per floor of 1 hour rated type of construction, NFPA 13 sprinklers or commercial grade sprinklers, where City of Seattle does allow for residential grade within the units. The requirements for an exterior or interior exit stair, where if an interior stair is provided, it must be pressurized. 20-foot maximum travel between the dwelling unit door and the exit stair. Maximum of 125 exit access travel distance, or the worst case, or from the most remote point to the stair, should not exceed 125 feet. There's also a requirement for emergency egress, and a limitation for other occupancies, where other occupancies are allowed within the building, but they must separately comply with the requirements of the code. So those are some of the Seattle provisions. So we took some of those provisions and we adapted them to the City of LA. So we, as part of the proposed ordinance, there's an allowance for up to 6 stories, and a clarification that basements should also be counted as a story. We're also requiring or limiting the number of units to 4 and including ADUs in that limit. And as opposed to the 1 hour construction type, we simply state the types of constructions that would be acceptable. And we would also require NFPA 13 sprinklers throughout. In addition to those requirements, City of LA has also proposed additional items. We want to limit the R2 occupancy to apartment type of uses only. So we've implemented that as part of the proposed ordinance. We want to limit the square footage per floor to 4,000 square feet as well. And there's also a limitation for these type of buildings in the very high fire hazard severity zone and the high fire severity hazard zone. Chute access, whenever there's a trash chute or a recycling chute being provided, there's a requirement that the chute be accessed from a separate room. Private roof decks are allowed. Electrical receptacles would be disallowed in the stair, and there's also a 150-foot maximum horizontal distance travel from the edge of the roadway to any particular dwelling unit. Manual fire alarm system and additional smoke detectors are also going to be required, at least as part of the proposed ordinance at the moment. And there's a disallowance for a building to be classified as a high-rise building. And that basically concludes the presentation.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from members of the public, but obviously stay put, because I'm sure we'll have questions for you. So are any members of the public came to speak to this item today? If so, please come forward to the left-hand side of the chambers. And we'll allow 1 minute per person on this item. And we welcome your comments. So please introduce yourself and
Good afternoon. Ani Boyajan with Central City Association, here to speak in support of item 19. We applaud Councilmember Rahman's leadership and her ongoing commitment to advancing development reform and housing solutions in Los Angeles. At a time when LA is experiencing a severe housing shortage, we need to work on policies that reduce bureaucratic hurdles and minimize development costs to increase the rate of production while keeping safety in mind. The current requirement of 2 staircases for small apartment buildings leads to increased costs and complications for producing new multifamily housing. Reducing the requirement to only 1 staircase allows for efficient development on small parcels of land to produce larger, better lit, and ventilated family units. This change will give developers more options and is a good step towards making housing production easier in LA. We look forward to partnering with you, Councilmember Rahman, on this and your other efforts to build more housing in LA. Thank you.
Hello, Jacob Pierce, policy analyst for Abundant Housing LA. Wanted to express strong support for the single stair initiative that will boost housing production, improve urban design, and make it possible to build larger, nicer units. We commend the city for working so quickly on this issue to move reform forward. We think that ordinance is 90% of the way there. I did want to highlight one issue, and that is in item number 26 of the draft ordinance. The section eliminates an exemption applying to other buildings and says that non-combustible single stairs buildings must have special rescue windows. Again, other non-combustible buildings are exempt from these requirements, we believe those exemptions should extend to single stair. Architects are doing so many other things to make these buildings safer, sprinklering the buildings, limiting distance from front door and stairs, pressurizing the stairwell. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Jesse Zwick. I'm the Southern California Director for the Housing Action Coalition, a statewide membership organization that works to end California's persistent housing crisis. We're just here to applaud the courage and leadership of this body in advancing this important and common sense reform to LA's building code that has the potential to unlock cheaper, larger, more livable, and sustainable apartment living in Los Angeles. But I do want to emphasize the word potential for a reason. While the motion that you wrote and approved called for an ordinance that mirrors that of the city of Seattle, where single-stair buildings have been allowed without major incidents since 1977, the one before you contains several additional provisions that threaten to render this incredibly good idea dead on arrival. This includes a prohibition on mixed occupancies, a prohibition of more than 1 building per lot, and the window issue, as mentioned previously, that would mandate 8-foot side setbacks that will make these projects impossible to build in the real world. Without delving into these highly technical, specific issues, the Housing Action Coalition supports the amendments put forward by the Los Angeles chapter of the American Institute of Architects and requests that staff closely consult with this body and make amendments before it comes to the full council for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this item? Come forward. Seeing nobody coming forward, public comment on this item is closed. And I'd like to call up the fire department as well to the table. And in fact, maybe why don't we start out with your comments, and then I'm going to open it up to my colleagues. Obviously, this is a big issue in terms of housing, but most importantly in terms of fire life and safety, and wanted to get your feedback. And pull the mic closer, or just pull it down a little bit. Usually it helps. Okay. Check. Can you make sure his mic is working?
1, 2, 3. There we go.
There we go.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and honorable members of the committee. I am David Perez, Fire Deputy Chief, and privileged to serve as your fire marshal. The fire department, as directed by the council to work with building and safety and planning to develop this draft ordinance, we believe that this ordinance is a reasonable accommodation to what we would prefer to see, which is 2 stairs in pretty much any condition. But we understand that the direction was to draft an ordinance that would cover a single stair occupancy or a single stair building up to 6 stories. And with that, when you look at the 30 conditions that are in this draft ordinance, we believe that we have balanced the loss of the second stair with additional public safety enhancements that will provide for the safety of the residents. Is it 100% better than having 2 stairwells? No, sir. Our position is that it is not. However, we do believe that with what we have here today, so long as there are no amendments, additional amendments that would either weaken or remove any of these 30 conditions from the ordinance, we believe we have something that we can work with and sign off on.
Great. Well, that's critical because we all rely on our fire marshal for our safety issues, and what you say, means a lot for us. And then just the other thing I wanted to make sure folks knew was that the draft that was, one of the issues in this bill has always been, how does it comply with the state? And it was, our city attorney had concerns about whether or not this complied with state regulations. So the language before us basically says this only goes into effect if the state amends the California Building Code to make lawful the provisions of this ordinance, which allows a single stair, or the provisions of this ordinance are approved by the California Building Standards Commission, and the city amends its fire code to reflect the life safety enhancements required by this ordinance. So I'm very sensitive to making sure that we're not doing something that is counter to what the state allows us to do, and which could create liabilities down the road. So I'm grateful that the city attorney has written this in such a way that we are, inoculated from those liability questions, because this does not go into effect until that happens. Now, the reason why we want to move this forward with this odd contingency as opposed to waiting for that to happen, which is sort of the normal course, and someone might ask the question, why not do it once the state makes that change? Because we know that there is a pending state requirement that once we hit the end of the month, we cannot change any of our codes for the next 2 years. So what this would do, if we do pass this and if it is signed into law, it would be on the books, but it would not be effective until the state makes that change. So it is a way to get around that concern about the 2 years. It puts it on the books so that everybody is aware of it. It's not a surprise for anybody. And then should the state take that action, it then enables us to have it. I wanted to put that out there. That's my understanding. And if you all have any different understanding than that, speak up now. I want to make sure I've explained it correctly. Seeing no objection from anybody, I guess I've explained it correctly. So now I'll move on to my colleagues. Councilwoman Hutt.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I on? Yes? Yes, I'm on? Oh, there I go. Okay, good. Good afternoon. How are you? These questions are for the fire department, so I have a few. But I want to talk about safety and evacuation first. So how long does it normally take to evacuate people in a building with 2 stairwells opposed to 1?
My experience with that is with high-rise building evacuations, understanding that these are office buildings. It's typically 30 seconds per floor. So if you had a 30-story building, it would take approximately 15 minutes on a 2-stairwell high-rise office building to evacuate that building, give or take maybe a minute on either side. In this case, where we're looking at a single-stair residential, you don't have your office workers that are basically alert, awake, responding to an alarm. Depending on the time of day or time of night, people are awake or asleep. There are various states of intoxication, various states of mobility that you don't typically see as much in an office building. So those things would complicate it somewhat, but we've never seen this before, so I don't really have an experience to draw on with that.
Oh, thank you. I also want to talk about, if you have a single stairwell and people are trying to evacuate, you're using that same stairwell to send fire with full equipment. How does that work out? How will that egress work? How will that rescue work?
It will slow traffic in both directions, both the occupants exiting as well as the firefighters ascending. It's just going to be a little tight. But that's, there will be some slowing. As to exactly how much, I don't know.
And then when it comes to smoke evacuation, like what do you use if there's only one stairwell? I understand if there are two stairwells, people on one side, smoke the other. How do you do that now? If this were in play?
So in accordance with this draft ordinance, that single stairwell, if it's an interior stairwell, is pressurized to keep smoke out of it. So that would be a piece of it. And then the building has smoke control. So basically, we're making it easier to evacuate the smoke. If for some reason the building's smoke control system that's pressurizing that stairwell were to go down, we would resort to placing large blowers that we carry on all of our truck companies at the entrance to the bottom entrance of the stairwell, and we would pressurize it that way.
Okay, so then if you have only one stairwell, let's say the entrance is in the front, then also, how do you attack it? Like and also, I should ask a different question. Do you have a database that would be able to tell you, here we are, this is, 4285 Main Street. They only have one stairwell and it's 6 units. Do you have that in your database when you're headed to the fire? Or you don't learn that till you get there?
At this point, we do not, because we've never had a situation
But let's say
like
it's,
this.
2 stories and 2 exits. Do you have that in your database?
Not in fire, no. I don't know if any other department does. We do not.
So you wouldn't even learn that till you get there?
And in a building less than 3 stories or less, we would not know necessarily until we arrived on scene.
Okay, and then we already talked about compliance, and it wouldn't come into effect until the state code changed, right? Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Those are most of my questions, fire safety, for the tenants and also for the firefighters, that there's not so much congestion that they can't do their work or that they can't help people, because I think that's what you signed up for, is to help people. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Nazarian? Oh, did you? I do. Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Vermont? No? Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the presentation. This is moving at lightning speed. I still have certain motions that I've made back from December when I took office, and still haven't heard a report back on those. So I'll just leave it at that for the departments that are listening to this. Right off the bat, I can say that I feel a lot more comfortable with the motion the amendment that's been put before, with the 2 requirements, with both of them happening, with both of them moving forward, not one but both. And for the ordinance to take effect, even though it's going to be on the books, to take effect after the latter of the 2 is finalized. So I appreciate your work on that, Mr. Chair. But just out of curiosity, because I've had a very hard time digesting this, because I don't think government should exist if its primary focus isn't on protecting its residents' and citizens' lives. It's meaningless and useless for us to do anything else or stand for anything if we're not protecting the lives of our residents and citizens. So, just out of curiosity, how many parcels fit the description of what this ordinance hopes to address? Do we even know how many total parcels? There just seems to be such a rush to do this, so I just want to know how many potential units of housing are we talking about?
I do not know, sir.
Do we know that from planning? Anyone from planning wants to respond to that? No?
think someone's coming up from planning, you know, because part of that is, you know, the universe that even qualifies for this is fairly narrow, so then, but was someone from planning coming forward?
Sorry, could I, if I could also just say quickly, I do want to just make one clarification about the timeline and the speed at which this is going, because there are motions that I submitted, I think, in my first year here that haven't moved forward, so I hear you on the pace. I think this is the reason why there was a movement on this is because of the deadline provided by the new state legislation that prevents changes from the building code being enacted after September 30th of this month. And the hope was that if we can find a pathway to making interventions to our building code that can allow for the production of more housing in a safe way, which I think that this Chief Perez and the Department of Building and Safety, including its general manager, have been engaged on what is before you today. If we can move forward with that in a way that ensures that buildings are safe moving forward, that we can allow for a change in our building code that will potentially allow us to build on smaller properties, larger units, family-sized units. You know, you've seen all the buildings that have just the studios, you know, which are really frustrating, I think, for a lot of people who are looking for a place to live in Los Angeles with their families. If we can do that in a safe way before September 30th, if we can make that change, then this is our opportunity to do that. So that's the only reason why this has been, I think, moving forward more quickly than some of the other issues before us, is because there is an external deadline, and as you know, probably better than me, bureaucracies tend to move faster when there's a deadline of some kind. So that's the only reason, and I don't think this is because this is more important or more weighty than any of the other issues that the city is working on, but it's really just because of that external deadline.
Thank you. Was there someone from planning who was going to respond?
Yes. Good afternoon, council members. Michelle Levy, Senior City Planner with LA City Planning. We don't have a number right off the bat to share with you on the number of parcels, but as members of the public have stated, and
So we don't even know what benefit this is actually going to contribute.
Well, I'm getting to that, actually. So, you know, what this ordinance is seeking to do is to unlock the development of parcels that are very small that would otherwise be undevelopable with two exit stairwells, because the exit stairwell requires a corridor connecting the two stairs. And that corridor requirement adds cost and inefficiency to building design. So you end up with a lot of units that don't have access to light and air, with unusable bedrooms. The single stair typology is one that you find throughout, you know, the world. It really allows for units to have better access to passive cooling. It allows for larger units. You're not seeing the wasted space along corridors and dark corridors and hallways that connect to stairwells. And it generally makes many more parcels more developable that are smaller in size. And the way this ordinance has been drafted, it would limit the number of units per floor to only 4 units per floor. So I think it's important to mention that.
But if I understand it correctly, it's going to be for potentially 3 4-bedroom units, correct?
A maximum of 3 or 4 bedrooms.
Okay, which means that more individuals residing and potentially even larger families who potentially might have 3 generations living under 1 bedroom. So with 3 generations, it means older grandparents who might not be able to move quickly enough. Now, imagine this for a minute. And again, I actually support it, but I'm amazed at the way this is moving forward, at some of the responses I've received also in this very committee just 2 weeks ago. So I have to bring it up because it's just a form of holding accountable. So imagine, you know, we have 6 stories, 3 or 4 unit, bedroom unit at the 6th or 5th floor. It's only single stairwell, so there are firefighters running up, elevator is out of commission, firefighters running up one stairwell. So if you have an elderly individual or someone young, but, you know, I have knee issues. It's harder for me to walk downstairs than it is upstairs. I'm trying to quickly go down, firefighters are coming up. In that confusion, in potentially smoke-filled situation, someone trips and falls, potentially makes it harder for somebody else behind them running down the stairwell as well. Have we thought, like, I'm just trying to understand here. Now, maybe providing a visual does a better job, but we're okay with moving forward with something that's going to put 3-4 bedrooms at the 6th level with one stairwell, no elevator working. We're okay with this.
I'll defer to building and safety on fire on those questions.
But you're planning. So I want to first ask you, and then I want to go back to fire.
I believe it's a life safety question, building safety and fire. I think that the question is really directed to planning in terms of a number, which is really, I guess, building safety and fire, I guess, is the number 2. But I think that if we're talking about...
Can you repeat what you were first saying because your speaker was off?
Thank you, Councilmember. I think it might be best, I think if it's a life safety question, that would be building and fire because they're the ones who oversee those life safety codes. I believe the chair was asking like a broader number that's a guess from planning in terms of how many would, but it may be appropriate for building and fire to kind of get into those life safety, important questions about life safety.
So in terms of the elevator itself, what the proposed ordinance intends to rely on the base code. So in your scenario where you have a 6-story building, the base code or the code without this proposed ordinance would require an elevator with emergency power. So if
In a fire, the elevator might be out of commission, correct?
so it's possible, but there's certain code sections that would require your elevator, not just to provide an elevator or require the elevator, but to have the elevator on emergency power. So if power cuts out, there's still some time to be able to use the elevator for accessible means of egress. For instance, someone in a wheelchair, they use the elevator to come up, but now there's a fire. They can use that elevator to go down, ideally, right? No system is perfect, but that's the intent of the code.
But all due respect, we build with the thinking of making sure that if all systems fail, we make sure that there's a safe way, a safe passage. So you're making it an ideal situation. If the elevators work, great. But by the way, how many elevators in tall buildings right now in Los Angeles don't work? Right? I think we're just working on a motion right now. So, okay, again, if it's single story, back to my question, yes or no?
So you could draw parallels to a 2-story scenario. You don't have an elevator in that scenario either, right? So you're suggesting that a second exit would alleviate the situation in where the fire department accesses the building through one side and egress is done through the other elevator? I'm not sure I'm clear because...
You're back to the elevator again.
Or rather, the other exit, right? So if you have 2 exits, how is that different from a single exit? I think that's what a lot of the proponents of similar legislation would say. I don't know if fire.
Sir, actually, if I could, and with all due respect, building and safety, but first we take the elevator out anyway. We bring the elevator to the ground floor and we lock it in position there. So the elevators are not in play if there's a fire. That's standard. We do that everywhere. So the elevator, having emergency power, that's helpful to prevent or situations where the only problem in the building is a power outage and we have potential for people trapped in the elevator. That takes care of that. But in a fire situation, it won't matter because we're going to bring the elevator to the ground floor and lock it in the open position there. To your question, so the potential is with 4 units on a floor and up to 4 bedrooms in a unit. You have potentially, they would be very small bedrooms, but you have potential for 16 bedrooms on a floor. Yes, with, going back to what I said earlier, I would always rather have that second stairwell. So now you have a lot of people coming down, up to 16 bedrooms worth. I don't know that in any floor plan, at least that we've seen in any of the diagrams, that all units have been that large. However, you have people coming down, and if something happens where somebody trips, falls, is essentially becoming an impedance to the flow, now we're going to have to stop. As we're ascending that staircase, we're going to have to take that person and move them into a unit or something like that and have them shelter in place there. Obviously, with the second stairwell, you reduce that downward pressure, call it, the number of people coming down, hopefully by an order of relatively half. But it won't, goes back to what I said before. It's not ideal, but I think with the systems that we have in place in these buildings with these 30 conditions that are in the code, the draft ordinance, I believe that we would be able to manage a situation where somebody's fallen and potentially disrupted the flow.
I want to ask a more personal question, but I'll leave that for another time. Again, as I said at the get-go, with this amendment, I will support this today. But I would not want to see any changes to this amendment moving forward. Otherwise, I will not be supporting this measure, given the peril it can cause. We don't make decisions based on all the faculties in place. We make decisions based on the worst-case constraints. That's our job. That's all of our agencies and public safety's jobs. So that's how I'm looking at this. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lee.
Under this plan, all the units are required to have sprinklers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also, currently, for senior apartments, I know senior apartments that are 12 stories high. The one my mom lives in is smaller, but there are 30 units on that floor with 2 staircases. I mean, is there some sort of code when it comes to like senior apartments? I assume the ratio of 4 apartments to each floor is probably far less with 1 staircase than the ratio is for some senior apartments like the one my mom lives in, which is only 3 floors, but my grandmother lived in one that was 20 floors and had 20, 30 units on it, which is probably more than 4 with the 3 bedrooms. Is there current things? I mean, doesn't that sort of, I mean, we always want to be safe as possible, but there's a limit. I mean, with senior housing, is there something currently in place that we have to have so many units maximum per floor if it reaches floor 7 with 2 staircases?
I'm not familiar.
So to try and answer the question, there isn't a specific limitation for senior housing, but what we have done, and it might seem strange when you read it, but what we've tried to do is limit the type of occupancies that are allowed in the building. For instance, I don't remember what item it is, but we want R2 occupancy, which is apartment, but we leave out all the other types of uses that come along with that R2 designation. So in the ordinance, we're saying we only want, yes, R2 occupancy, but only apartment houses. No congregate living, no R2.1 or anything like that.
I understand. My point is just that, my mom's apartment is probably 9, 10 units away from the closest staircase. It's much further away from the second staircase, which I would think is if we're going to change this, if we're worried about this one, then we would have to address. I'm just saying that those are sort of the comparisons, that we need to look at.
Appreciate that, Mr. Lee.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Did you have more to say, Mr. Lee? I'm sorry. No? Okay. Councilwoman Rahman. Did you have anything to add?
No, just, I think I appreciated Councilmember Lee's question and appreciated Councilmember Nazarian's comment as well. I think we don't want to reduce existing safety measures, but the limitation on the number of units per floor limits how many people are going to be accessing each stairwell. And, you know, in discussions that we've had, even when there's 2 stairwells, there are often conflicts in going up and down. Because there'll be large numbers of units, like 30, 40 units on each floor, and people are not necessarily using one for going down and one for firefighting. That kind of organization is very hard to do during an emergency. So there's often these conflicts. These are conflicts that happen in every building. So I just want to emphasize here that the hope with this is by limiting it to just 4 units per floor, that we are limiting those conflicts that are happening, limiting the number of users per who are trying to exit the building, and thereby maintaining safety levels at a level that we can, that is manageable, and that, as Chief Perez mentioned, you know, that's manageable for the fire department in this. And I want to thank the Department of Building and Safety and the fire department for engaging so deeply on these questions and really kind of wrangling what we have before us today, and especially under the timeline. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, colleagues, seeing no additional comments or questions. Mr. Nazarian.
Sorry, thank you. I forgot I was going to ask this. By the way, why are we talking about 2 different ordinances? Or are there going to be 2 different ordinances? Because I thought there's...
Yes, so this is an ordinance that amends the building code. There's also the fire code. So if you look at Chapter 10 in the building code and Chapter 10 in the fire code, they're essentially identical. So in order to move forward with this, we need an amendment to the building code, which this is.
Okay.
And in the fire code.
Okay.
At this time, sir, we are working on that ordinance, and it's essentially a copy and paste of this ordinance into the fire code.
Copy and paste. Okay. All right.
That
Thank you very
they have
much.
to stay identical, or it would create too many problems. So
Thank you.
that's all we're doing.
Thank you.
Great. And I'll note, I mean, I know other cities, Culver City, Santa Monica, they're doing this. They are not putting in the protections that we are in terms of making sure we're in conformance with state law, which I think is an important protection that we've added. But we will not be alone in this idea. But of course, they can be the test pilot for the lawsuits, not us. So with that, let's call the roll.
Mr. Blumenfield, there's specific recommendations that need to be read.
Okay, I thought we read those already, but if
We
you want.
read the amendment, sir, but not the underlying recommendations.
Okay, would you please read those into the record?
Yes, with your indulgence. So the recommendation being adopt the proposed ordinance attached to the Department of Building and Safety report dated September the 5th, 2025, as revised by the version of the ordinance introduced today that includes technical amendments and the language that I read at the beginning of the meeting as to the operative date that has been already on the record and the tape. In addition, adopt the recommendation in the Planning Department report dated September the 4th, 2025, to instruct the City Planning Department to conduct further outreach and analysis following the adoption of the proposed single-stair building code amendment prior to initiating a work program that would explore future zoning code amendments. And finally, to request the city attorney to transmit a draft ordinance to the council file for city council's consideration pursuant to motion Blumenfield-Yaroslavsky adopted by the city council on August the 20th, 2025.
Okay.
And the clerk will call the roll, sir.
Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield,
Blumenfield, aye.
Hut,
No.
Nazarian. Nazarian. Lee.
Aye.
Rahman.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes, and this item is approved as amended.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you all very much for the discussion, and that takes us back now to, I believe, number 13. Is that right?
13, let me check. I think that's right.
Okay. Going back into the
Yes,
chronological
so,
order.
Item 13, council members, this is a categorical exemption from CEQA and 2 appeals, followed by the Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, SAFER, and the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association relative to a specific planned project compliance that would enable the construction of a 131-unit residential building and the maintenance of an existing 2-story, 8-unit residential building for a total of 139 units. The project is located in CD 13.
Great, thank you. We'll have the planning department present their report, then we'll ask the appellants to present their appeals up to 3 minutes, then the applicant to be able to respond. Then we'll move to the public. Then we'll hear from Councilmember Soto Martinez if they wish, and then we'll have committee discussion. So, planning department, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Chi Dang with the Department of City Planning. The item before the committee today is an appeal for a density bonus project located at 5416 to 5430 West Carlton Way for the construction, use, and maintenance of a new 131-unit apartment building with 15 units restricted for very low-income households and an existing 8-unit apartment building for a total of 139 units. On June 24th, 2025, the City Planning Commission approved the 131-unit residential building and adopted the categorical exemption number ENV 2024-915-CE as the environmental clearance. On June 27th, 2025, one appeal was filed by the Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, SAFER. On July 8th, 2025, a second appeal was filed by Justin Maurer and Naomi Santo on behalf of the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association. The appeal relies on the same arguments and information presented during the City Planning Commission hearing. Staff responses to the appeals have been transferred to the council file for council's consideration. Staff would like to provide one clarification that per state density bonus law, the project is required to set aside 15 very low income units, but the replacement dwelling unit determination requires the setting aside of 16 covenanted units. The project will ultimately provide 16 replacement units, not 15 as identified in the staff response. Based on this information, staff recommends that the Plum Committee deny the appeal and sustain the original determinations by the City Planning Commission. That concludes my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, next we'll hear the representative from the appellates.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Chase Preciado from Lazo Jury LLP. I am speaking on behalf of Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, or SAFER. SAFER respectfully requests that the committee grant SAFER's appeal with the Planning Commission's approval of the infill exemption prepared for the 5430 West Carlton Way project. The committee should instead require preparation of an MND or EIR. Further CEQA review is required because there is substantial evidence that the project will significantly impact air quality and indoor air quality. Thus, the project does not qualify for the exemption on its face, and the unusual circumstances exception to the exemption applies. First, air quality experts Matt Hageman and Dr. Paul Rosenfeld from the environmental consulting firm SWAPE concluded that the project would have significant adverse air quality impacts. SWAPE found that project construction would emit 147.3 pounds of carcinogenic diesel particulate matter, or DPM, over 2.4 years. The nearest sensitive receptors are just 5 feet from the project site. As a result, the project's construction DPM emissions would expose these receptors to a cancer risk of 146 per million, far exceeding a CEQA cancer risk threshold of 10 per million for the South Coast Air Quality Management District. A full CEQA analysis is required to adequately analyze and mitigate this impact. Second, industrial hygienist Francis Offerman concluded that the project will significantly affect indoor air quality. Many composite wood products used in residential building materials contain formaldehyde-based glues that release formaldehyde gas, a known carcinogen, over time. Mr. Offerman found that the project's long-term indoor formaldehyde emissions will expose its future residents to an airborne cancer risk of 120 per million. This far exceeds the CEQA significance threshold of 10 per million, even assuming that all materials comply with the California Air Resources Board Formaldehyde Airborne Toxics Control Measure. The city did not address this impact. Thus, there is substantial evidence that the project will have significant adverse impacts on air quality and indoor air quality. These impacts, coupled with the project site's close proximity to sensitive receptors just 5 feet away, create an unusual circumstance. Therefore, the city is precluded from relying on the exemption. For the reasons discussed here and in SAFER's written comments, SAFER again asks the committee to grant SAFER's appeal and require the city to prepare an MND or EIR. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there other appellants here? Okay. Welcome. You guys have 3 minutes that you can split together.
Honorable members of the Plum Committee, my name is Noemi Santo. I live on Carlton Way, and I'm a co-founder of CSTA, the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association. I urge Plum to support our appeal and reject this proposed development, which would demolish 7 RSO buildings, displace vulnerable tenants, and result in a net loss of affordable housing. The project is non-compliant with SB 8, no net loss, the RPO, SNAP Subarea A, and CEQA. The use of off-menu waivers for a 176% height increase and 74% open space reduction should not be granted. In over 1,000 pages of this case, nowhere are 35 to 40,000 square feet unassigned co-working non-apartment spaces explained, shown here in yellow. State density bonus law requires proving that waivers enable affordable housing. The off-menu incentives and waivers requested here are insupportable under density bonus law. Failing to comply and failing to disclose the purpose of 35 to 40,000 square feet of non-housing is grounds for project rejection. Therefore, this project must be denied. This is irrefutable evidence of the manipulation and abuse of the density bonus law, including unnecessary luxury amenities which have nothing to do with the no net loss per unit replacement of 25 RSO units. The unassigned co-working spaces are not necessary.
Hi there, good afternoon. Honorable members of the Plum Committee, I'm Justin Maurer. I'm a tenant on Carlton and Serrano and a co-founder of CSTA. Now, we must preserve our existing affordable housing stock, but we have to understand that decision makers need to do both, preserve and protect. While this may appear compliant, this is not an apples to apples replacement of genuinely affordable RSO housing. There needs to be a clear and precise distinction between existing affordable housing and market rate luxury housing. Replacing 25 truly affordable RSO units with only 15 low-income units is in reality not equivalent. Therefore, this development is non-compliant with the Housing Crisis Act, SB 8, and the Housing Crisis Act Replacement Unit Determination, RUD. Now, these waivers to SNAP and CEQA are under the assumption that this is for affordable housing, where all of these luxury items, which were kind of hidden, we really had to dig around to find them, but if you have unassigned workspace that takes up, we have approximately 5,043 square foot per floor times 8, that could be used for affordable housing. These are not family-sized units. They are small and dorm-like, and they could have carved out a lot more space for affordable housing without the swimming pool, without the luxury amenities like this 5,000 square foot of office space. I have a couple of questions, and then I will get off the mic. Just give me 1 second here. I would like to know what these large yellow boxes are in the plan, why planning has not mentioned these or explained how these constitute justification for the waivers. Are these effectively commercial offices? How are these legally aligned with the requirements of SB 8? And what protections are in place to ensure that this even gets built? Because the committee seems to be content with displacing residents and demolishing RSO on that possibility. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we have the applicant. is here and they can respond. Technically, since the appellants had 6 minutes, I believe the applicant can get up to 6 minutes, but they don't have to use all 6 minutes. Please don't use all 6 minutes. But no, go ahead.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Gary Benjamin of Alchemy Planning and Land Use, representing the applicant. I respectfully request that you adopt the recommendations of the City Planning Commission and City Planning Department and reject the appeals filed against the proposed state density bonus housing project at 5424 Carlton. The applicant's proposing to preserve an existing 8-unit apartment building and to construct a new 131-unit apartment building, including 15 very low-income units and 1 low-income unit, with all new units subject to the city's rent stabilization ordinance, less than 400 feet from the Hollywood Western Metro Red Line station. The project is 1 block south of Hollywood Boulevard and just east of Western Avenue in a high-density residential land use area of the Hollywood Community Plan. The area is characterized by a high density of residential and commercial uses, served by the Metro 180 and 217 Rapid Bus on Hollywood Boulevard, Metro 207 Rapid on Western, and Metro 2 Local on Sunset and the Hollywood Dash Line. Given the proximity to high-quality transit options and an abundance of jobs and other resources in the area, the applicant's proposing to increase the density of the site, replacing existing 1-story and 2-story structures comprising a total of 25 units, of which 16 are occupied, with the new 131-unit, 8-story mixed-income RSO apartment building. The applicant hired the award-winning architectural firm Steinberg Hart to create an elegant and dynamic design for the project, including an attractively landscaped lobby entrance along Carlton Way with architectural planters, integrated wood elements, and seating, which will be a positive aesthetic contribution to the community. While the building will be taller than the immediately surrounding structure, it is consistent with the prevailing development pattern in the area and appropriate given the location. The application includes only state density bonus program incentive and waiver of development standard requests, as well as the Vermont Western specific plan project compliance review. The 3 incentive requests are for minor deviations from the specific plan setback and roofline break requirements necessary to facilitate the design, and the waiver requests are necessary to facilitate the density intended for the site by the general plan and state density bonus program, which permit a maximum of 191 units for the site, whereas the applicant's proposing 139 units, including the 8 units to be preserved. I understand there are concerns regarding the replacement of existing rental units from the site. To clarify, the project will replace 25 units, of which 16 are currently occupied. Of those 16 occupied units, the housing department verified that 4 of the tenants are above low income, that another 4 are eligible to return to the new building at a permanently affordable rent, and to receive significant relocation assistance payments to cover housing costs while the project is under construction. Of the remaining 8 units, 5 tenants moved in within the last 3 years and are currently paying above market rents, and there are 3 remaining tenants paying below market rents that did not respond to LAHD outreach regarding their right to return to the new building, but they have received notification of that right, as well as their right to remain in the building until 6 months before demolition and eligibility for significant relocation payments. The applicant has been in communication with existing residents regarding the development through the on-site property manager and will continue to comply with all state and local regulations regarding tenant notification, relocation payments, and right of return. As we continue to build out our transit network and the city continues to grow, it will be necessary to replace much of our aging housing stock with new buildings that are more accessible, sustainable, fire and earthquake resistant, and that can accommodate a greater number of families in our most transit accessible and resource-rich communities. The existing 1-story and 2-story structures on the site were all constructed between 73 and 109 years ago and were not built to last indefinitely. The new building will be all electric, provide electric vehicle chargers in the parking garage, and will comply with all current fire, disabled access, and safety codes. Additionally, the project will provide 15 permanently affordable very low-income units and 1 permanently affordable low-income unit, whereas the existing units reset to market rate upon each vacancy. All new units will be subject to rent control, and the building will house over 8 times the number of families, existing households on the site. We understand there are competing ideas about how best to accommodate the growth of new housing supply in the city, but we hope that you will support this project, which will construct an attractive, high-quality building with significantly more homes at this site within a high-density residential land use area and within 1 block of the Hollywood Western Metro Red Line station. So thank you for your consideration of this matter.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we will hear from members of the public. If there is anyone here who has come to speak to this item, please come forward, make your way to the left-hand side of the chamber. Each of you will have up to 1 minute to speak. And we can just line up and you can state your name and your position.
Hi, my name is Dustin Valdez, and I'm a resident of 5414 Carlton Way, unit number 6. I'm directly impacted because my parking spaces, which is an essential part of why I chose my home, is slated for demolition. Neither I nor the tenants who are losing our parking spaces have been told what the contingency plan is. But my concern is broader. The process has been sloppy. Key documents weren't released in time, and technical problems during the Zoom meetings made it nearly impossible for non-digital, non-planning, and non-English speaking neighbors to participate. This is not an equitable process. This project would demolish rent-stabilized homes, uproot longtime tenants, and erase cultural diversity that makes this part of Hollywood unique. Building new units while destroying existing affordable ones only deepens the crisis. I urge you to support the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association appeal and stand with the tenants in the future of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Welcome.
Hello. I strongly urge you to support the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association appeal and reject this development. This project would demolish 7 rent-controlled buildings and displace nearly 50 tenants. By replacing 25 rent-stabilized units with only 15 very low-income units, the project violates SB 8's no net loss requirement, Housing Crisis Act's replacement unit determination, and the Resident Protection Ordinance. This project also threatens our environment and history, removing 17 trees, including protected oaks, and creating significant air quality hazard, as explained earlier. When we talk about a housing crisis in LA, when we talk about needing more housing, when we talk about ending houselessness in the city, we do not mean and should not mean building luxury housing at the expense of affordable housing. And certainly we can't mean displacing this many lifelong residents. I urge you to side with the tenants and be on the right side of history.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Planning Committee. My name is Charles Hsu. I am a member of the East Hollywood local of the Los Angeles Tenants Union. I'm also here to urge you in no uncertain terms to reject this development and to uphold the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association's appeal. They've already gone over how this development is patently illegal under multiple state and local laws, so I'm not going to repeat that. I'm just going to say that on top of that, it is a moral atrocity that would displace over 50 working class tenants, including a 94-year-old woman. And I will say that if this planning committee does not do its basic due diligence and rein in Lior Masaborsky, who, in the words of the first commenter, is a demon developer, if there ever was one, then quite frankly, the tenants of Carlton Serrano and their allies in East Hollywood and throughout LA are going to have to take matters in their own hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I'm with the neighborhood council. I'll make it 3 minutes.
Did the neighborhood council submit a CIS on this, or are you just with the neighborhood council?
Just with the neighborhood council, we voted on the project.
Yeah, the rules are that you have to have a CIS to get the additional minute. So you have 1 minute. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Coulter Carlisle. I'm the vice president of the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council and chair of the EHNC Planning and Land Use Committee. Last February, the EHNC voted to oppose the project in Carlton Way due to the net loss of affordable housing in RSO units. The EHNC believes that allowing a project that's nearly 50 feet higher than anything else in the neighborhood will result in a cascade of similar projects, leading to a decimation of the rent-controlled apartments, a driving up of the rent, gentrification, and the worsening of the homeless crisis instead of the alleviation of the crisis. When analyzing this case, it's important to remember that community plans like the SNAP represent the hard-fought compromises of competing interests. In this way, the specific plans are like contracts upon which these competing interests rely when making decisions concerning their property in relation to other stakeholders in the community. But I want to make one thing clear. The residents of Carlton Way, my constituents, the people of East Hollywood, are not just numbers in order for this council to hit their regional housing numbers. These rent-controlled apartments are our only source of wealth and must be protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Brendan. I'm with the East Hollywood Local of the Los Angeles Tenants Union. I would like to encourage this committee to support the Carlton Way Tenants Association in their appeal against this development. As the other party has noted, these units are going to be replaced with rent control units, but I want to stress that rent control on a luxury apartment is a much different number than the rent control that the tenants enjoy now. The real numbers on top of those rents are very much not the same. You want to say that they are permanently affordable, and I'm here to tell you that they are permanently affordable now with the rent control that they have now, and that these people deserve to stay in their homes and not be displaced for luxury apartment buildings. The electric cars are nice. I'm sure the architectural details will be very pretty to look at, but people here, they don't drive electric cars. They can't afford them. Those architectural details mean nothing to people if they can't live in the place that they have lived for decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Doesn't matter what my name is because you probably won't remember anyways. I'm with the LA Tenants Union. I'm actually a neighbor. I live down the street from the Carlton Tenants Association. And what I want to mention is that I do support what they're doing here. They're trying their best way to preserve their housing. I urge you to approve their appeal. What I do want to mention is that this landlord developer's mouthpiece, what he did not mention, right, was how much these new rents were going to cost, right? How much are they going to cost to rent a studio, a one-bedroom apartment in this new luxury building? $4,000, $5,000? That's not affordable. You guys are basically tearing and taking away 24 RSO units right now and going to replace them with 15? That's a shame, right? So what I want to say is, even if the appeal doesn't go our way today, it's just the beginning, because the LA Tenants Union is now involved, and it doesn't matter. We have to stop the bulldozers from demolishing these buildings. That's exactly what we're going to do if you do not oppose and if you do not support these tenants.
Thank you. Are there any additional speakers on this item? Okay, next we'll move to a representative from Mr. Soto Martinez's office to give us the council member's position on this.
Good afternoon, honorable members of the Plum Committee. I'm Ted Walker, the Planning Deputy for Council District 13, Councilmember Soto Martinez. The decision before your committee today for the project located at 5416 through 5430 Carlton Way in East Hollywood consists of two appeals. One appeal filed by SAFER focuses on the project's environmental review. The other appeal, filed by the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association, focuses on both the environmental documents and the findings for the specific plan project compliance determination, which is meant to show compliance with the locally adopted Vermont Western SNAP specific plan. The report from City Planning thoroughly responds to the points in both appeals. Our office agrees that the city did not err in approving the environmental documents and the density bonus provisions of this project. Therefore, we cannot support the appeal. However, we do want to speak on the record about the tenant issues that are raised in these appeals. Although our office is in alignment with staff's recommendation to deny the appeals, we acknowledge the Carlton Serrano Tenants Association, the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council, and other community members who have been advocating for the affected tenants through this appeal process. In our conversations with the appellant group, they listed as their highest priority the prevention of displacement of vulnerable tenants. Our office has been extremely supportive of increased protections for tenants, and we are laser focused on proper implementation in Council District 13. For this case, our office's primary goal has been to connect with the affected tenants directly and ensure that they have a full understanding of their rights under the Resident Protections Ordinance, SB 8, and the Ellis Act. Myself and staff on our Housing and Homelessness Prevention team knocked on every door 3 times this summer to connect in English and Spanish with the existing tenants and to inform them of their rights. At the time of this hearing, we have connected with the majority of the tenants on site and reviewed their rights. 4 of the 16 units on site have been verified as low income and qualify for substantial relocation assistance amounts. The majority of the verified other units do not qualify on RPO relocation payments and are paying above market rate, but they are still entitled to all other rights under the RPO, the Ellis Act, including Ellis payments. 3 of the most fundamental rights at the core of those laws are the right to relocation assistance, the right to remain in your unit until 6 months before the start of construction activities, and the right to return to a unit in the new project. The outcome of this appeal will not erase those rights. I am here today to publicly declare our continued efforts toward ensuring the affected tenants' rights guaranteed under SB 8, the RPO, and Alice Act are upheld, not just in the approval process, but going forward through the entire project. Lastly, I wanted to offer support from our office to any affected tenants who might be in attendance today, either in person or virtually, that we have not already been connected with. Our work indicates that 3 units have not yet completed income verification. Our office is here to support you. Honorable members of the Plum Committee, we thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak about our work as it relates to this appeal. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We'll start by asking planning to respond a little bit to some of the things that you heard, specifically the issue of no net loss was concerning. I want to make sure that issue is addressed, and the issue that they talked about in terms of unassigned spaces.
This is Jane Choi for the record from the Department of City Planning. So the project did go through the standard process of the replacement unit dwelling review with the Housing Department. This project is vested under the SB 8, SB 330 rules. Since then, we've adopted the Resident Protections Ordinance, which does require 1-for-1 replacement. But under SB 3 and SB 8, there is a formula that is utilized. So while 25 RSO units are being demolished, given the formula and the right to return paperwork that was submitted, it was determined that 16 units would be replaced at low or very low income unit levels. And then there is a market rate RSO replacement, but those are not considered affordable. So the project does meet the requirements of the SB 8, SB 330 replacement, right of return requirements and replacement requirements. The one of the appellants raised the question about the floor area on the 6th floor of the building. So the building currently has several resident co-working spaces on the 6th floor that are not assigned to units. These are part of the common open space requirements of the project. The project base floor area is 6:1 because they're in a height district 2, so it's larger in terms of a starting point for floor area. So the project did not have to ask for any additional relief for floor area. So there wasn't a density bonus finding about the floor area approval, and we anticipate that these spaces will either remain as indoor common open spaces or possibly turned into ADUs in accordance with state law in the future.
Interesting. Okay. Colleagues, anyone have any additional questions or comments on this? No? Okay. Then I'm going to recommend that we deny the appeals filed by Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility and Justin Moore and Naomi Santo, Carlton's Serrano Tenants Association, and thereby sustain the determination of the Planning Commission relative to the approval of the specific plan project compliance to allow the demolition of 7 existing residential buildings and accessory uses, inclusive of a 16-unit apartment building, a 4-unit apartment building, 3 single-family dwellings, a detached garage, a duplex building, and the construction, use, and maintenance of 8-story, 131 residential building, and the maintenance of an existing 2-story, 8-unit residential building for a total of 139 units within sub-area A of the Vermont Western Transit-Oriented District Station Neighborhood Area Plan, SNAP, specific plan for the properties located at 5416, 5418, 5420, 5424 through 28, 5430 West Carlton Way, subject to conditions of approval as recommended by the Planning Department in its communication dated August 29th, 2025, and determined based on the whole of the administrative record that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15332, class 32, and there's no substantial evidence demonstrating that an exception to a categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15300.2 applies, and C, adopt project findings. Clerk, if you would call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt.
Yes.
Nazarian. Lee.
Aye.
Rahman.
Yes.
5 ayes, and the appeals are denied.
Okay, thank you. Next, we move on to item 14, I believe. You could read that into the record.
Item 14 is a categorical exemption in a Planning Commission report and an appeal filed by Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, SAFER. They are challenging the approval of the categorical exemption This is for the construction of a 139-unit mixed-use building, 104 of the unit, with 104 residential parking spaces and 41 commercial parking spaces. The project is located in CD4.
Okay, we'll start with the Planning Department, present the report.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Yamila Brisuelo with the Department of City Planning. The item before the committee today is a CEQA appeal for a transit-oriented communities project located at 1666 North Vermont Avenue. The proposed project is a 7-story, 126,770 square foot mixed-use building comprised of 139 units with 16 units reserved for extremely low-income households. On May 29, 2024, the Director of Planning approved the modification of a project permit compliance of the 139 mixed-use building and adopted categorical exemption number ENV-2024-359-CE as the environmental clearance. One appeal was filed by the Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, also known as SAFER, and on October 24, 2024, the City Planning Commission, CPC, following its consideration of the materials and testimony, denied the appeal in part, granted the appeal in part, and sustained the planning director's determination. One subsequent CEQA appeal was filed on the CPC determination by the same appellant. The appeal relies on the same arguments and information as presented during the entitlement appeal. Staff response to the appeal have been transferred to the council file for council's consideration, and based on this information, staff recommends that the Plum Committee deny the appeal and sustain the original determination by the City Planning Commission. That concludes my presentation. I am available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from the appellant and then the applicant.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Chase Preciado from Lazo Jury LLP. I'm speaking on behalf of Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, or SAFER. SAFER respectfully requests that the committee grant SAFER's appeal of the Planning Commission's approval of the infill exemption prepared for the 1666 North Vermont Avenue project. The committee should instead require preparation of an MND or EIR. Further SEQA review is required because there is substantial evidence that the project will significantly impact noise, air quality, and indoor air quality. Thus, the project does not qualify for the exemption on its face, and the unusual circumstances exception to the exemption applies. First, noise expert Deborah Ju from the acoustical consulting firm Wilson Eyrig concluded that the project will have significant noise and vibration impacts. The noise and vibration levels generated by project construction would exceed the applicable thresholds for ambient noise and vibration damage. Also, the city's noise calculations show that the project's construction noise would be significant without voluntary control measures. Reliance on any such mitigation measures precludes the use of the exemption. Second, air quality experts Matt Hageman and Dr. Paul Rosenfeld from the environmental consulting firm SWAVE concluded that the project would have significant air quality impacts. SWAVE found that the project construction would emit carcinogenic diesel particulate matter, or DPM, for 18 months. The nearest sensitive receptors are just 500 feet from the project site. The project's construction DPM emissions would expose these receptors to a lifetime cancer risk of 41.7 per million, exceeding a CEQA cancer risk threshold of 10 per million for the South Coast Air Quality Management District. The project's emissions of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, will also exceed the air district's threshold, indicating a significant environmental impact. Third, industrial hygienist Francis Offerman concluded that the project will significantly affect indoor air quality. The project's long-term indoor emissions of formaldehyde gas, a known carcinogen, will expose its future occupants to an airborne cancer risk of 120 per million for residents and 17.7 per million for commercial employees, exceeding a CEQA significance threshold of 10 per million. This is even assuming that all materials comply with the California Air Resources Board formaldehyde airborne toxics control measure. Thus, there is substantial evidence that the project will have significant adverse impacts on noise, air quality, and indoor air quality. These impacts create an unusual circumstance precluding the city's reliance on the exemption. For the reasons discussed here and in SAFER's written comments, SAFER again asks the committee to grant SAFER's appeal and require the city to prepare an MND or EIR. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a representative from the applicant here? Seeing no one coming forward, we will move to public comment. Is there anyone here from the public that's come to speak to this item? Come forward now. Okay, public comment is closed. Then we will hear from Councilwoman Rahman. This project is in your district. Would you like to speak to it?
I'm happy to concur with the Planning Department's recommendations here, but I did want to just clarify the dates that the project was filed, when it was approved, when it was appealed. You had mentioned 3 dates in your initial presentation, and I just wanted to make sure I understood those.
Yes, so the first date, May 29th, 2024, was when the Director of Planning first approved the modification of a project permit compliance. So the initial determination was actually, just one moment, sorry, was actually filed, or the original determination first became effective in August 10th, 2022. This was a modification which was then determined on May 29th, 2024, and it was appealed, and on October 24th was the CPC hearing, and since then, we received another appeal, and I didn't mention the date that we received the appeal, but we did receive an appeal on November 6, 2024. Yes, and then now it's scheduled today.
And just out of curiosity, if it was the CPC hearing denied the appeal, right?
Denied in part and approved in part. The changes were revised conditions since there was wrong numbers in the transparency element square footage. So there was just an update to correct so that it could match the Exhibit A that we approved.
And I don't want to, I know today's a long meeting, I'm just trying to understand, why is it that something that was resolved by the CPC in October of 2024 is there a reason that it's being heard a year later in full council?
There it goes. Lisa Weber with City Planning. We transmit the determination of the City Planning Commission to the city clerk, to council, and it's before your committee to schedule the matter to be heard.
When was it transmitted? Thanks for question.
I'm sorry.
Do we know the date of transmission?
Oh, yes. It was, I know that the letter of plum was first transmitted in January, but I can pull up the...
January of 2025?
So this is Jane Choi for the record. So the department transmitted the appeal on November 26th of 2024, and then we uploaded our staff response in January of 2024. I'm sorry, 2025.
January of 2025.
We uploaded our response to the appeal in January 2025, yes.
Right, so it was originally transmitted in December 24?
November 24th.
November
yes.
24 was originally transmitted to council file, and then there was correspondence that we updated, which is the formal submittal from the appeal in January 25.
So I'm only asking because this was a project that had support from the Los Feliz Neighborhood Council and did not have significant issues, issues were resolved in CPC, and I just am trying to understand what is the cause for, the time between when issues are resolved and submitted in the council file for us to be hearing it here, because it just feels like it's a long time, and I still don't have a great sense. I don't want to belabor the point, Councilmember Blumenfield, but I just don't understand, so I'm curious.
It's a good question. I don't understand either, because.
And we didn't raise it, we as a council office engaged with this project.
Because when we got it as a committee, we cleared the decks on all of our projects. So, I mean, we could go back and look into why was this held up, unless anybody here knows.
And their original entitlements were filed in August of 2022?
Yes,
and
that's
it's
correct.
now September of 2025.
And they were modified in '24, so this is a '24 application?
Yes, they modified it in 2020.
So your timeline for this application began in '24, correct, Jane? So that's,
What was the modification related to, though?
This is Jane Choi for the record. The applicant decided to modify some of their ground floor requirements and also add a subterranean level of parking. So the applicant initiated changes to their project that require the filing of the modification.
so for what you have before you, it was really starting in '24. We had the actual application. We knew they revised what the revised project was like.
But between August of 2022 and May of 2024, nothing happened with the original application?
No.
This is Jane Choi for the record. I believe the applicant was working on their building permit clearances, and then they decided, as they were going through the process, to change their project.
Which is not unusual when you go through the planning entitlement and then you decide to, developers decide to, they have the concept in the planning entitlement and then they start to dig into what they really are going to need to do, and they may come back and modify their planning entitlement.
Okay, well, I concur with planning's recommendations, but I will say that I still am a little puzzled, even sitting on this committee now for months, about the length of the time it takes to move forward with projects. But I think you've heard me talk about this ad nauseum, so thank you.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I know in this committee, once something is uploaded, we try to schedule it right away. But we can try to work with you to figure out where is the bottleneck. But let's move forward on it
Yes,
right
thank
now.
you.
And the recommendation, with Councilwoman Rahman's agreement, is to deny the appeal filed by Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility SAFER and thereby sustain the determination of the Planning Commission relative to the approval of the environmental clearance, the categorical exemption from CEQA for the demolition of 2 commercial structures, a surface parking lot and a billboard, and the construction of a 7-story, 126,770 square foot, 139-unit mixed-use building within the Vermont Western Station Neighborhood Area Plan. Specific plan for the property located at 1642 through 1666 North Vermont Avenue, 4646 through 4650 West Prospect, 4685 through 4697 West Hollywood Boulevard, subject to conditions of approval, as recommended by the Planning Department in its communication dated January 3rd, 2025, but transmitted on January 7, 2025, and B, determined based on the whole of the administrative record that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15332, class 32, and there is no substantial evidence demonstrating that an exemption to the categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15300.2 applies, and C, adopt project findings. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt. Aye. Nazarian. Lee.
Aye.
Rahman.
Yes.
That is 5 ayes, and the appeal is denied.
Okay. Thank you. That takes us to number 15.
Yes, sir. Item 15 is a report from the Planning Department. It's in response to a motion, Hutt Blumenfield, relative to the 100% affordable housing project, discretionary review exception for the property located at 3810 through 3814 West Adams Boulevard in CD 10.
Great. We'll hear from the Planning Department on this report. We'll hear from the Planning Department, then we'll get public comment, and then we'll have committee discussion. And the recommendation ultimately is to receive and file as this is a report. But Planning Department, if you would start us off with your presentation.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Steve Garcia from Planning Department. Item 15 is for a project located at 3810 West Adams Boulevard, case number ADM 2024-2920 DB VHCA ED1. The project is a 6-story, 100% affordable housing development with 85 dwelling units, including 1 extremely low income, 4 very low income, 62 low income, and 17 moderate income units. Planning staff was tasked with preparing a report back in response to the council motion initiated by Hutt Blumenfield dated August 27, 2024, regarding the ministerial review of the proposed project under the mayor's 3rd revised executive directive ED1 as it relates to an HPOZ. The Planning Department transmitted a report back dated January 24, 2025 to the council file, which indicated the following. The project was approved on August 9, 2024, utilizing the second revised ED1 ministerial approval process effective on July 7, 2023, and provides an exemption from discretionary review for eligible projects. The project was vested on February 27, 2024, via the Housing Crisis Act vesting preliminary application referral form, and the case was filed on May 8, 2024, both occurring prior to the effective date of the third revised ED1 on July 1, 2024. Per Section 15 of the third revised directive, projects vested before this date are governed by the prior ED1 regulations, which did not impose historic resource or HPOZ restrictions. Furthermore, the project site is not located within an HPOZ, nor does it contain or impact any designated historic cultural monuments or contributing historic resources as confirmed by ZEMAS. Therefore, planning staff confirms that the case was appropriately processed in accordance with the governing Executive Directive 1 at the time of vesting, and the subsequent historic eligibility provisions of the third revised ED1 are inapplicable to this project. That concludes staff presentation. We are available for any questions.
Thank you. Before we go to questions, we have anyone for public comment on this item?
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Wainwright, and I am the Denker Estate, and I am Historical Monument 591. I am directly next door to this development that what they are proposing to put up. It will dramatically affect our neighborhood. It will dramatically affect the historical area that we live in. And I don't know if any of you ever go down Adams and see that there's nothing on Adams above 2 stories. Nothing. It's a beautiful community. It is my home. It is our home. I have 56 panels of solar on top of my home, which now will be dramatically decreased by a 6-story towering over my home. I have raised my children here. I am now raising my grandchildren here, and this should not happen in our neighborhood, period.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wish to speak to this item? Seeing no additional comments, public comment on this item is closed. We'll move to committee discussion, and we will begin with Councilmember Hutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions. Does the project's proposal to eliminate the front and backyard violate any of the city's objective development standards that were in place at the time of the preliminary application?
It does not.
I can't hear.
It does not. The project requests a waiver of development standard for both the front yard setback required by the zone and then the building line required by ordinance.
Because the thing that I'm concerned about is ordinance 76346, resolution 1157, adopted by the council back in 1936, and I think that's what our public comment speaker is talking about, is what the community looks like. It established a 30-foot building line as a clear and quantified and non-discretionary standard. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, and the ordinance uses the word shall, which leaves no room for interpretation, so not sure.
The project, through the density bonus program, the project is utilizing its one waiver of development standard to request relief from that ordinance.
So how many public hearings have been held for this project, which counts towards the hearing limit?
Yeah, so eligible ED1 projects are not required any public hearings. So there has, to your question, there has not been any on this one.
No, none. Okay. Okay, this proposed project asks for demolition of a naturally occurring and rent-stabilized housing building for the construction of 88-unit housing development, including a number of waivers from development standards, which eliminates the front and backyard and provides for 3 feet of clearance on the sides. This is an obscene contradiction to the community since the site is on a scenic highway in a setting of contributing structures within a historic apartment district and backed by average setback along the corridor that's like 40 feet. Furthermore, in the resolution that's 1157 and the ordinance that I just talked about, 76346, it established a standard of building line on Adams Boulevard between 5th and 10th Avenue for that very reason. This project completely ignores the fact that thus objectively does not comply. The 30-foot building line was adopted by City Council and states that a building shall not encroach the established line. Adding a building that contradicts this ordinance establishes a building line, it's harmful to the community and it'll have a negative impact, as we just heard, on both the scenic route and the historic contributions surrounding the site, as well as the adjacent historic districts that is a part of that defined and broader community. This project is out of place, inappropriate, and should have never been considered as vested and complete. Because the building line standards were not considered, as such, the building department erred in issuing the housing referral, as well as a letter of compliance. This project is not consistent with the applicable objective standards of the general plan, zoning at the time the preliminary applications were submitted. So I ask that we deny the project based on these facts. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Although I think before us is just the report. So, I mean, you can make an action request, but the only thing that's right before us now is the report. So we were going to receive and file the report. But I mean, is there another action that you wish to take? Because I don't know that we can, given what's in front of us, I'll ask the city attorney that's an option for us.
Kathy Phelan, City Attorney's Office. The only thing before you is the report. There's no other action on the agenda that you can take. You can receive and file the report. You could ask for further reports back, but nothing related to the project approval.
Then I'll ask the planning department to report back on, on the building line and what that 30 feet front yard, backyard will do in a historic neighborhood.
This is a Theodore Irving, Principal City Planner. So the building line is a local restriction for development in the area. And as Steve pointed out, this project is eligible to take advantage of waivers and incentives of the state density bonus law. So the applicant took advantage of the state density bonus law to be waived out of local regulations, and that building line is a local regulation.
So you're saying the state waiver is in a position that allows for a project like this?
That is correct. The application, if you look at the application request, the applicant made a request under state density bonus regulation to set aside local regulations, side yard setback, rear yard setback, front yard setback were among the local regulations that the applicant asked for. And the city is entitled to grant in order to increase the production of affordable housing units.
So, Mr. Chair, then we'll note and file the report, and then I'll work harder for the community so that we don't change
the state law.
Yeah.
No, okay.
I'll go change the state.
All right, you go change the state law. No, I know you're always looking out for the community, and unfortunately, it sounds like on this, we are preempted by the state from being able to make the changes that you're looking for. So with that, I guess we will receive and file the planning department report and call the roll, please.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt.
No.
Nazarian. Nazarian? Lee?
Aye.
Rahman?
Yes.
That is 4 ayes, and the Department of City Planning report is received and filed.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on then to the next item, item 16.
Yes, sir. Item 16 is a motion Soto Martinez Lee Hernandez Padilla. It's instructing various departments to report back on developing recommendations that would require all residential high-rise buildings in the city to install a fire sprinkler suppression system.
Great, thanks. We'll start with Planning Department, Building and Safety, then we'll move to public comment, and then committee discussion. So is there someone from
It's
Planning?
Building safety. It's building safety.
Building and Safety? Do we have anybody from Building and Safety? Anybody?
It's a fire sprinkler building code issue, I believe.
Okay, I'll tell you what, then we'll move to 17. If we could get somebody here from Building and Safety, we'll come back to this item. But if we don't have anyone at the moment, we have to, okay, let's move to item 17, and if team can get somebody here from Building and Safety to present on this, or housing? Okay. All right. We can go ahead without the, we'll go ahead without the motion, without the department. I guess it's just a motion, so we can start that process. So is there any members of the public who wish to speak to this item? Welcome.
Hi,
Looks you.
good
to see you.
afternoon. Thank you for still being here after such a long day. My name is Byung-Soo Seok. I'm here on behalf of Sprinkler Fitters UA Local 709 members. I'm here in support of the Soto Martinez Lee motion that calls for a viability study of requiring sprinkler system retrofit for residential high-rise buildings. In 1988, City of LA just passed an ordinance that required the retrofit of commercial high-rises but exempted all the residential. This motion contains several very important requirements, including prohibition of permanent displacement of residents, sensible cost pass-through system to the residents, and usage of local hire with skilled and trained component. These are elements of the motion that we are highly supportive of and can testify and will testify today that these requirements can be achieved. Thank you for your support for this motion.
Thank you. And thank you both for waiting around. You sat through a lot of stuff to be here, so
Yes,
we
sir.
very much appreciate your comments and your interest in this important item.
Good
Sir.
afternoon. My name is Roland Gutierrez. I'm a 19-year member and business agent for UA Local 709. We have 64-plus contractors that we work with, and we have our contractors are well-skilled and trained to do this type of work without displacement. One of our contractors have already done that with Bunker Hill Project here in the city of Los Angeles, where they retrofitted an existing residential building with zero displacement. There's a little bit of misinformation on the cost of this. There's an inflated cost of $50 to $100 million. You can build an entire building for that cost. The Bunker Hill project costs around $2 to $3 million with a few upgrades that they're still working on today. So as far as public safety goes, our membership and our contractors are well-trained and able and ready to do this if the motion passes. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers for this item? Seeing no other speakers, public comment.
Mr. Blumenfield,
Yeah.
I'm going to read the amendment for this motion,
Okay,
when you're ready.
go ahead.
Yeah, so the amendment is to adopt the motion as amended, to direct the fire department with the assistance of Building and Safety, the Housing Department, the City Attorney's Office, CLA, CAO, to report on the feasibility of exempting any residential high-rise building from any mandatory automated fire sprinkler ordinance if each floor of the high-rise is equipped with either wet or dry standpipe systems with hoses that extend the full length of the floor, ensuring firefighting readiness.
Great. That's an amendment for a additional report back. Colleagues, any additional comments or questions? No? Okay. Well, I mean, I think this is an important safety measure, and I'm glad we're moving forward on this motion. The amendment obviously is looking at some additional information in terms of costs, and we can move forward and vote then, right?
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt. Aye. Nazarian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Rahman.
Yes.
5 ayes, and this motion is adopted as amended.
Great. Thank you. Next is item 17.
Yes, sir. Item 17 is a Planning Department report relative to the Development Services Bureau and zoning review transfer.
Okay. Planning Department present.
Good afternoon, council members. Kevin Keller from City Planning, joined here today by Claire Kelly from City Planning and our very own in transition, Stephen Lane, Principal Zoning Architect, who is transferring over to City Planning as well. We'll try to keep this brief. I know it's been a long day, but did want to highlight some of the work the Department of City Planning does both on projects and also reorganizing. We requested to prepare a report on the department's status on implementing a reorganization and creation of the Development Services Bureau and the incorporation of all zoning review work from the Department of Building and Safety to the Department of City Planning. This report follows council instructions and the changes that were effectuated in this year's budget. And we just wanted to basically summarize saying we're on track. We are implementing and making those changes and really welcoming this change, and we're on track to launch the new Development Service Bureau and our zoning review program on January 1st. And I'll just give a very high-level overview, and we can answer any questions that you may have. The primary goal of this service is to consolidate and reorganize to improve service, streamline procedures, and provide a one-stop shop for zoning review. That's been a goal for a long time in the city. Happy to report that, like I mentioned, we're working out some of the kinks, but we are on track, working collaboratively with the Department of Building and Safety to launch this service on January 1st. The Development Service Bureau will be a new significant bureau with close to 190 staff of our department, including the Development Service Centers. We have 5 of those. All of our Office of Zoning Administration, which we're very excited to align with our counters, so we'll have both zoning review and zoning implementation together for the first time. Our Specialized Service Division, that's our wireless, telecom, restaurant, beverage, redevelopment services there, our Performance Management Unit, and then, of course, the Zoning Review Division that will be effectuated the transfer with coming over from DBS. That's 42 new staff that are transferring to City Planning from DBS. This work was adopted in the 2025-2026 budget. We're using existing resources. There are no new resource requests here, although we will be likely preparing a supplemental budget request collaboratively with DBS to respond to a couple little things that, as we dug into things, there's a couple little movements we want to right-size that. So we don't have that for today, but we will return with that. At a high level, we have a bifurcated process right now where you go to both departments. You go to DBS, you go to planning. There's no one department in charge of everything zoning. Applicants currently must take their projects through 2 departments, and the consolidated operation will allow for zoning review, which is the application of the zoning code currently done at DBS, to be done at City Planning for both building permits coming in and planning entitlements coming in. So we all hear about the phrase late hits or late discoveries of additional requirements. The goal of this is really to make sure that as things come in, they're reviewed up front on both workflows. And so we have a little diagram in the report that if you want to look more at some workflow diagrams, we have a very simple one there for that. Also just want to highlight that this consolidation preserves the all doors are open model. You can still start at City Planning. You can still start at DBS. We're not changing any requirements coming in the door. This is all back-end realignment to make sure we provide those services to applicants and can instruct and provide information up front. As part of this organization, like I mentioned, we'll be transferring the Office of Zoning Administration into the Bureau and launching January 1st the pilot with the existing resources we received of the entitlement review program for our ZA cases. essentially, you'll have zoning checked. You'll also have planning will look at all of our cases coming in, make sure, are you in the right place? Did you ask for the right thing up front? Do you have all your required materials? Off you go. It sounds simple, but it's something that the department has done when we can, but there's never been an official step where we provide that service up front, and that service will be provided with our existing fees, existing resources, just we're able to do this with those resources that were in the budget. I'm just going to skip to the end here. We're going to include the performance management unit to make sure we have a really public-facing dashboard and can report regularly to City Council about how this program is working, what's working well, where are any backlogs developing, things like that. We're also going to be making sure we pair with some of the coordinated technology improvements with DBS on the new permitting system, and also Build LA using the Universal Project ID metric to make sure we can track these projects as they leave. I'll mention that I know we're very excited about pre-development. We're also excited about post-entitlement clearances. Just like we developed a lot of Build LA capacity, we're going to be building our entitlement review system. Although focusing on pre-development, we're going to be building it to have the capacity to also do post-entitlement tracking with future enhancements. So just kind of really trying to build that system one step at a time, focusing on pre-development here today. I mentioned we have the plan check, building and safety zoning review, which Stephen capably handles. We're working on the over-the-counter plan check now. That's what we're going to report back to the council with DBS. We want to keep the ability to file plan checks and have them reviewed, also to provide same-day service. We don't want to lose that as we split into two departments, so we're working that out. We're going to have a resource request to make sure that planning can also staff the zoning counters and provide either linear appointments or same-day referrals for, I keep using the word gazebos, things like that. We probably don't permit that many gazebos, but your gazebos, your retaining walls, your masonry walls, quick checks, we want to do that over the counter still. So we're going to be working carefully with DBS to have those resources aligned. And then as we do this, we're preparing some cleanup code amendments. There's some code references, nothing fancy, but just we're going to do some cleanup codes just to really align and clarify these procedures. Building permit appeals, we have to just kind of rename what those are called, where they go, but keeping all the systems the same. So we will be returning back to this committee in the fall before the end of the year with these cleanup codes. They'll go to our planning commission and bring that back here as we go. So we recognize there are a number of longer term opportunities to enhance the operations of the Bureau. This is a significant move. It's been something that our entire department has leaned in on, and Vince Bertoni has really led the charge here with Osama Yunin at DBS on this. We look forward to continued collaboration with the other development service departments and sharing updates to this committee before and after our launch on January 1st. So with that, I'll pause and just glad to be able to report this is on track.
All right, colleagues, any comments or questions? Councilwoman Rahman.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about this moving forward. I just want to check in, which is the question that I've always asked about Build LA, which is how does it provide accountability for improvements in the system? And just wanted to see how you're planning to do that with this reform. So the changes will happen January 1st. Is there a way right now, and is there a plan to demonstrate that these changes are going to have an improvement on how we respond to applications moving forward? And if not, can we do that as part of this process?
Absolutely. We're working closely to make sure all the technology improvements kind of build into the system city planning uses. DBS is also investing in a new permitting system, so we're working carefully there to make sure they have e-plan capability that we can use. And then making sure that I'm not a code expert, but making sure that the architecture of that system speaks to the Build LA system. So those referrals that we start doing internally between the two departments, building and safety and planning, can also be referred to our other development services, the BOE, DOT, et cetera. So we're using existing resources there, but we'd love to continue to collaborate, and I think with our work with LADBS on their investments in their 2.0 or maybe 3.0 permitting software, we do see a lot of opportunities to allow seamless routing. If planning received an entitlement application, some of them have plans, some of them don't. Alcohol permits, you may not have a floor plan, but we'd like to have a case if you filed at a design review board, we want to run that through the system, and we can use that digitally to run that through the system, bring it back, and go back to that applicant who may have filed a planning and say, hey, we're all systems go here. Did you realize you also may have a retaining wall issue? Just want to bring that up to you. If you're fine with that, good for you. But if you want to get started on that entitlement, we can do that as well. So I think that's a great opportunity, and we're committed to doing that.
Yeah, and I guess just when you come back to this committee, I would love to see what are the ways in which you are planning to measure how this is improving. This is clarity on exactly what that is. What does improvement look like in terms of entitlement and approval timelines? And how can we monitor that progress going forward? I think in theory, this makes a lot of sense. I'm obviously very excited about it. It's something that I think is
great,
overdue, but I do think it's important to make sure that we're demonstrating progress.
We need to bring that back. We've invested with putting our performance management unit in this system, but developing those specific metrics and goals is a great next step for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Any additional comments? Appreciate it. I know it's a long day, so don't take our silence for not a lack of appreciation. It's a lot of hard work into this. So thank you. I'm going to recommend that we receive and file the planning report dated September 3rd, 2025, in as much as it's submitted for informational purposes. Let's call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt.
Aye.
Nazarian. Absent. Lee.
Aye.
Rahman.
Yes.
4 ayes, and the Department of City Planning report is received and filed.
Great, thank you. Okay, that was 17, 18, we did on consent, 19 we already handled. So our final item, and is appropriately, since we all probably need a drink at this point, is about an alcohol CUP appeal. Welcome, and we'll hear the staff report, then we'll see if the appellant is present, and then the applicant, and then comments from Mr. Soto Martinez's office, then the public, then the council member, and then we'll have committee discussion. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Honorable Plum Committee members. My name is Henry Chu, Associate Zoning Administrator, and this case before you was continued from August 26. The case involves an appeal on the environmental clearance for ancillary alcohol sales and dispensing in conjunction with the private residence club amenity area within a mixed-use development in the C4 zone. When we last met, the appellant stated issues such as the applicant piecemealing the project becoming a resort hotel, music being played in the outdoor decks, as well as alcoholic impacts of the project that were not addressed in the previous environmental clearance. Also, in our last meeting, it was stated that at the June 2024 Area Planning Commission meeting, the extremely low-income households were being rented out, and that, according to the applicant, the units have had difficulty being filled up despite numerous applications, yet many did not meet the qualifications. The applicant was not in attendance at that meeting and was unable to provide information. And as a result, the Plum Committee continued the case from the August 26th meeting. From that meeting to today, the zoning administrator went back to hear the June 11, 2024 Central Area Planning Commission meeting recordings. And I wanted to clarify that at the meeting, the applicant never stated or indicated that any of these affordable units were being rented out. To clarify, only some market rate units were rented out for a short period of time. Also, at the time of the 2024 APC meeting, the applicant stated that...
Just to go back, you said to clarify, market rate units are being...
Yeah, the affordable units weren't being rented out. It was just the market rate units.
Well, the market rate units by whom? Because market rate unit can't be short-term rented unless it's by the primary occupant, by the primary owner. So are you saying that the owner was renting out short-term market rate units in this building illegally?
That one, I'm not sure.
But you're telling me that that's the question, because it is not legal in the city of Los Angeles to short-term rent anything other than your primary residence. And you just said that this applicant was doing that.
What was stated at the Area Planning Commission meeting was that there were about 20 units that were being rented out. It's not clear whether it was by the owner or the different unit occupants.
Okay.
Okay. Also, at the time of the 2024 APC meeting, the applicant stated that 3 of the extremely low-income households units were filled, and the remaining 17 units had not been filled despite the numerous applications being submitted. Because many of these applications did not meet these qualifications, they remained unfilled. The applicant further stated that they would work with the mayor's office to help get these remaining extremely low affordable units occupied. Since our first plum meeting, the zoning administrator reached out to the home sharing unit, and they reached out to the housing department trying to get answers as to why so many applications did not meet the qualifications and why these units remained unfilled. We have yet to hear back from the housing department. Also, the zoning administrator did reach out to the applicant and the representative after the previous plum meeting. The applicant stated that in an email that they were unable to attend today's meeting since he's recovering from major surgery. However, in an update from today, the applicant did state that 18 of the extremely low affordable units have been occupied and filled by qualified households since they reached out to the mayor's office back in 2024, and the remaining 2 affordable units are going through the application process. I did speak with Ryan Lee of the mayor's office, and he did confirm both he and Andrew Pennington were working with the applicant, and that none of the affordable units were ever used for short-term rentals, consistent with what was stated at the Area Planning Commission meeting in 2024. With regard to the appellant's other points, mode and character, changing the CUB conditions ensured the identified residential use would not change, and that there would be no live entertainment as part of the conditional use for alcohol sales. The square footage remained the same, and the alcohol license under the State Department of ABC would be a Type 57 ABC license, which would require the applicant be subject to those provisions. In addition, the CUB grant includes conditions that address responsible management, alcohol service monitoring, noise, litter, loitering, and graffiti. It ensures alcohol is confined to only its residents and their guests and does not spill onto streets. The applicant states crime. There's no evidence of crime from the subject site. And with regard to piecemealing and important features not disclosed, the approved plans from DIR 2019-2592 SPR TOC shows recreation room of 769 square feet on the 4th floor and an outdoor pool area. There's no change with regard to any additional features or expansion of the building itself. With regard to the environmental clearance, staff has looked into all these issues made by the appellant, and there is no basis to support that any illegal activity has gone on, and the appellant has not shown any, and cannot show how any of this is relevant to the reliance on the Class 1 exemption for the conditional use for alcohol. Substantial evidence supports alcohol use will cause negligible or no expansion of existing uses and therefore falls within the Class 1 exemption. And the appellant has provided no substantial evidence to support any exception that a categorical exemption applies. Staff recommends denial of the appeal and determine that the project is exempt from CEQA under the Class 1 categorical exemption. Staff is available for any questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. I do have questions, but before we get to that, we will open it up to the appellant and the applicant. If the appellant is here, please come forward. And thank you for waiting through our entire meeting. I apologize that you're number 20 on this list, but the floor is yours.
Thank you. I actually got here early today. My name is Keith Nakata. I'm speaking on behalf of Citizens for a Better Los Angeles, following up on our CEQA appeal, which Plum first heard here on August 26th. Our CEQA objections are based on the fact that the applicant has applied for a CUB after the project was approved, which is piecemealing under CEQA. Beyond that, the determination issued for the CUB also includes short-term rentals for corporate clients and music to be played outdoors, neither of which were analyzed in the environmental assessment. Beyond that, there's already an extremely high concentration of ABC locations in the census tract, 28 Type 47 licenses and 9 Type 48 licenses, one of the highest rates of alcohol density in the city. This location is in the heart of Hollywood. Decades of research show a link between alcohol density and violent crime. The determination letter makes clear that the crime rate in this area is extremely high already. It states that crime reporting district 646, there were a total of 1,095 crimes and arrests were reported in 2022 compared to the citywide average of 156. We're concerned not just about the permit, but about setting a precedent by granting a permit for the service of alcohol in a residential building. With regard to the August 26th meeting, we appreciate Council Member Blumenfield's affirmation that setting aside 25 units for short-term rentals at this residential complex is clearly illegal. We also appreciate Councilmember Rahman's expression of concern about the fact that only 13 of the 20 covenanted affordable units were occupied, even though the building has been in operation over 2 years. We oppose to granting the conditional use for alcohol, but if the Plum Committee is disposed to approve the CUB, we ask that the city restrict the applicant from serving alcohol at this location until the following actions have been taken. All of the covenant units at 1522 North Castle are occupied by qualified households. Number 2, language in the June 27th, 2024 determination letter regarding short-term rentals be stricken from the determination. There is no necessity for alcohol here or any public benefit to the community. And I thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Okay, that was the applicant. Is the appellant is, I don't believe is here, but, I mean, the applicant not here, so let the record reflect. So now we'll move to public comment. Does anyone, member of the public, wish to speak to this item? Seeing no members of the public speaking to this item, we'll now move to Councilmember Soto Martinez's office.
Good afternoon again, honorable members of the Plum Committee. Ted Walker, Planning Deputy for Councilmember Soto Martinez. 2 weeks ago, when this appeal was first in front of you, an alarming concern came up around the use of covenanted affordable units as short-term rentals in this building. In the past 2 weeks, both our office and city planning have looked into these claims. In doing our review, we've not found substantial evidence to prove them. An update is that we have had we've received an update that 18 of these 20 affordable units are now occupied, and the remaining 2 are finalizing the lease-up process. Additionally, we heard from home sharing that we did not receive evidence of home sharing happening at this site. That said, we appreciate the time given with the continuous to investigate these claims and ensure compliance, but as it relates to this appeal and the appropriateness of the environmental review documents for the CUB entitlements, our office is in alignment with staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues? Do you have any comments or questions on this? I mean, you know, the short-term rental thing, I'm concerned about just because I'm still hearing that we looked into making sure there was no RSOs that were being short-term rented, but not market rate units. You seem to imply that there were market rate units. Now, short-term rental could mean something different. I mean, if it's 30 days or more, you know, executive suites for 30 days, that's totally legal. But if it's, if we're talking about Airbnb or some other short-term rental that's a couple of days here and there, that's blatantly illegal. So I guess the question for planning is, you know, what can we do to make sure as we move forward, because it sounds like this issue is still a little up in the air. I want to move forward on this, but I also want to know, is there something we can do to ensure that that these are not being used for any kind of short-term rental, market rate or otherwise?
Well, this is Henry Chu, City Planning. With regard to
pull the mic closer, please.
With regard to low-income house, the low-income units.
I heard the low-income units, but that's not what I'm concerned about.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you said that multiple times. I get it. Low-income units, you checked it. It's not there. It's still illegal to do market rate units short-term. And it sounds, and I haven't heard anyone definitively tell me they are not doing that. So is there a condition that we can put in, to, beside the fact that it's blatantly illegal, to require that, or to make sure that that happens?
Kathy Phelan, City Attorney's Office. The only thing before you is a CEQA appeal. There's no ability to add conditions on the project. In fact, the project approval is done. It's really the CEQA appeal that's at issue now. So, and you can't add mitigation measures to an exemption, which is before you.
Okay.
If you want to ask Planning Department to follow up on, and then, you know, report back on whether or not because really compliance with the city's laws is a separate issue from this CEQA appeal, unless you find it connected to impacts in some way.
Okay. Well, it's connected to impacts because if that may be the motive to have the alcohol is because you're getting a lot of short-term rentals, which makes it more like a hotel, which makes it more profitable to do it that way. But you know, I don't want to belabor this. I know that the council member wants us to move forward with that, and I appreciate that. So I guess I will. I'll recommend that we deny the appeal, barring any new evidence from that we hear. And I guess I'll also add the instruction to planning to go out and investigate this and enforce, because there are penalties that go along with this, because we have a credible concern that there is illegal short-term rental happening in this unit. Anyone else? Comments? Does that sound like a reasonable solution? Okay. Then let's vote on that.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Hutt.
Yes.
Nazarian, absent. Lee.
Aye.
Rahman. Yes. Four ayes, and this item is to deny the appeal and include the recommendation read into the record by Councilmember Blumenfield.
Great, thank you. Okay, that clears the docket, correct?
General public comment?
I know that. We have general public comment. It clears the docket. Okay, now we have general public comment. Mr. Spindler, Mr. Herman, anybody? Seeing no one coming forward for general public comment, this meeting is adjourned.